I think before I call upon the speakers and another important milestone event for MMA, which I brief you a little later, I will tell you what's happening during the month in MMA. So if you have missed your mail in your inbox, kindly note, block your diary. And before I think last event, a lot of people complained to me that people don't switch off their mobile phone. Please, may I request you, please do it, follow me what I'm doing, take out your phone and take it to the place where you put it in a silent mode so that you don't do that. So let me do that in front of you so that it doesn't happen to each one of you. Because we have highest regard, respect for members of MMA and Andhra Chamber. You follow the rules, you are one of the rule-abiding citizen. Please do that, so that we don't be interference to other members. Thank you. Appreciate your thing. Now, in the month of August, 1st of August, we have an event tomorrow. Talk on the theme Adventures. This we are doing jointly with advertisement thing. We have got 3 brilliant speakers. Mr. Murali, Chairman of Kasturi and Sons, and Indu. Srinivasan Swami, he is also founder, Chairman of ANSA Group, and also he is the President of the International Advertising Association, and Rajan, past President of the Ad Club. And Dr. Narayanan is going to speak. He is one of the veterans in the field of ad. And you want to have something fantastic information about what's been ad, what has been driving ad under Mr. R.K. Swami, who founded R.K. Swami VVDO. I think you must come and listen to him. It's happening tomorrow evening at the same place at 6:30 in the evening. And I also extend a warm welcome to members of Andhra Chamber. You want to come, please do come as our guest. While going, you can just put your name. There's a register there that you would like to be invited for these events as our guest. We'll be more than happy to receive you. Then on the Sunday, the 4th of August, we've got another MMA Buddhi dialogue, very, very important, which is very relevant, on the aging of brain and mind. There are a lot of things are happening. People are getting affected. You lose your memory. You get affected by Parkinson's diseases. How you manage your mind. I think we have an international speaker, Madhav Tambishetty, is coming from US, one of the finest known person in this field. He's going to come here. We thought we'd take this opportunity to talk to him and to converse with him and bring the best out of him. We got Mr. Erapadam Krishnamurthy, Buddhi Clinic founder, is again an authority on neuroscience. He's going to. On 12th of August, we have success story. Paramesh is joint managing director of Tangamail. Tangamail is one company which is gone public, being in jewelry. So, quite interesting event, and Mr. Rajagopalan, senior partner, is going to be the thing. Then on 30th of August, we have the event. Before that, we have an event on 29th of August, just finalized. We'll be getting the communication shortly. Sadhguru is going to come and speak. Sadhguru is there. Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, along with him, Britannia, Vanita Bali is going to be in conversation. This we are doing jointly with Fiki Flow. This is happening at Taj Coromandel on the 29th of August. We'll keep in touch with you the details. On 30th, we have MMA case, recent talk on recent development, FEMA. This is happening in Bhupati & Co. Besides that, we also have our flagship event on 30th of September. It's happening, and number of events happening. On the 4th of September, Chindication Innovation Award. The award function is happening at Kamarajarangam, which we sent you the circular this evening, where one of the finest speakers on innovation, Mr. Mariwala, Arsh Mariwala, founder of Marico, is going to come and speak. So we got some feast of guys there. I am telling you all this so that people who are still enjoying the food, I think enjoy it quickly and come in so that you don't miss some of the important aspects of the thing. And coming to today's event, we always believe in collaboration. If you know MMA events, most of the events are collaborative events. Today, you cannot do anything without collaboration because you get the best of the people to come and share their thoughts and views if you collaborate with people. And with one such collaboration, which has been great success for MMA, is our collaboration with Andhra Chamber of Commerce. And for this, the entire credit goes to Dr. Indra Dutt, and who has been always in the forefront to push us and do that. And in the collaborative event, we are doing a 90th event joint together. That's a milestone which we should celebrate. That's why we have come together today. This is only a beginning. We'll be doing a lot of events together. Idea is to exchange notes and exchange things. We've got a nice facilities. We've got a nice president at Andhra Chamber. Excellent team who would like to collaborate thing. And that's the event we're having this event today. And when we said we want something, a thought leader of great repute to come and speak on this milestone event, and when we want a thought leader to speak, we could just immediately think of only one, and Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, former Vice Chairman of Cognizant, and he has so kindly accepted when he spoke to him. So we are going to have a lovely evening, and the theme on which they are going to speak is India's trade, commerce and industry opportunity for exponential growth. I think which is relevant to Chamber of Commerce and as well as members of MMA. And I'm quite sure you're going to think, I know all the viewers watching this program live, you're going to enjoy this. Gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the speaker for this evening, Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, former Vice Chairman of Cognizant, and Dr. Indira Dutt, who is the President of Andhra Chamber. May I also request the other members of the people who are going to be there, Mr. Subbarao, Vice President of MMA, and Mr. Gautam, Mr. Batmanabhan, who is also a Chairman of Skill Development, to come on to stage. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to our distinguished speakers. Now I request Mr. Subbarao to deliver the form welcome introduction. Mr. Subbarao, please. Subbarao is the Vice President of MMA. He is also Managing Director of Sanmar Shipping Limited.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's indeed my privilege and honor to deliver the formal welcome and introductory remarks at this special event celebrating the 90th joint event of the Madras Management Association and the Andhra Chamber of Commerce, in an endeavor to promote collaboration amongst professional organizations and its members. As you all are aware, Andhra Chamber has been one of our valued partners for the various joint programs with MMA. While we are celebrating the 90th joint event with Andhra Chamber, who are already in their 89th year of service as the Chamber, we are indeed privileged of our association with one of the oldest chambers in the country. It is my honor to welcome Dr. Indira Dutt, President, Andhra Chamber of Commerce and Managing Director, the KCP Limited, for this evening discussion. Thank you, ma'am, for your presence in spite of your busy commitment. I consider this a privilege welcoming Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, former Vice Chairman and CEO, Cognizant Technologies. I take this opportunity to welcome all the members of the Andhra Chamber of Commerce, members of MMA, and the invitees who have assembled here to celebrate this milestone event. The integration of the domestic economy with the twin channels of trade and capital flows has accelerated in the past 2 decades, which in turn led to the India's GDP reaching 190.54 trillion rupees, in effect 2.76 United States dollars trillion in 2018-19. Simultaneously, the per capita income also nearly trebled during these years. India's trade and external sector had a significant impact on the GDP growth as well as expansion in the per capita income. The government of India is keen to grow exports and provide more jobs for the young, talented, well-educated, even semi-skilled and unskilled workforce of India. A number of reforms have also been initiated in the past few years, which include the recapitalization of the Export-Import Bank of India and developing an integrated declaration process leading to the creation of a single window which will provide the importers and exporters a single point interface for customs clearance of import and export goods. To know more about India's trade, commerce and industry and the opportunity that it holds for the larger business houses on one hand and the younger entrepreneurs on the other, we have Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, who has kindly taken time off from his busy schedule to be here today. Sir, we are eagerly looking forward to your views in this evening. I once again welcome you all and thank the Andhra Chamber of Commerce for this initiative and look forward to a long and continuing relationship with MMA. I also take this opportunity to welcome viewers watching this program live from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Subbarao. Now it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Indira Dutt. Dr. Indira Dutt has done economics from the University of Madras, and she serves as a director of a number of companies, KCP Limited, the Velangudi Foundation, KCP Vietnam Industries Limited, Ramakrishna Sons Private Limited. She also great philanthropist, supporting number of causes. At least she is giving a number of occasions the call to support some of the place which is there built for the benefit of the public, where she wants us to go and do something to reach out to the public. So she always had a concern for the poor. And Shindra is also the chairperson of the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee, member of the Finance Committee and Risk Management Committee of the company. And Mr. Dutt is conferred with the Honorary Doctorate of FI, Savita Institute of Medical Science and Technology. May I request Dr. Dutt to please deliver the opening remarks.
A very good evening to ladies and gentlemen. I extend my warm greetings to all present here for the 90th event jointly organized by Madras Management Association and Andhra Chamber of Commerce, both organizations that continue to contribute immensely to the management excellence in the Indian industry. I am in deep appreciation of Madras Management Association, which is the largest management association in India, serving the cause of managerial excellence for over 6 decades now. It is commendable that MMA has been adjudged the best management association in the country for 9 years in a row for its phenomenal contribution to propagate management movement among corporate members, students, and public. MMA continues to tread journey of providing exceptional service to the cause of the fostering, sustaining, and promoting management excellence. The Andhra Chamber of Commerce has for 92 years consistently striven its best to promote commerce and industry of South India in particular and India in general. The Andhra Chamber of Commerce has more than 1,500 members spread across 3 states of South India, including Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and Telangana. As its president, I can say with confidence and pride that it has played the role of a change maker in the Indian business scenario, being actively involved in mooting several path-breaking initiatives in the interest of the Indian business communities. On this occasion, I am happy to announce that we are organizing an international event, which is a business meet of Afro-Asian trade on August 30th, 2019, at ITC Grand Chola in Chennai. For this business meet, we are inviting speakers from leading chambers of commerce from countries like Vietnam, Myanmar, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya to participate in the conference. Exim Bank of the India is participating. There will be also common interest groups individually with the representatives of these countries. This business meet aims to facilitate industry members to source and market opportunities through effective networking. The Andhra Chamber of Commerce and Madras Management Association have come together to organize an important event focusing on the opportunities for triggering exponential growth in India's trade and commerce. And the ambience for this event is most promising, even as we are celebrating India's tremendous feat in space odyssey. The launch of Chandrayaan-2, India's second lunar exploration mission for the moon on 22nd July. It has been done already. We are all proud of this phenomenal feat by our nation, which now opens up immense possibilities for our advancement, not only in space science, but also in various other areas. The moment is just right for us all to understand that our nation is poised for a huge turnaround and hence affords great opportunities to the industry to exploit the advantages of a young and advanced nation. The business ambience has never been so conducive and motivating for the Indian industry. In the words of our finance minister, the Indian economy is expected to grow to become a $3 trillion economy in the current year. Our economy is the 6th largest in the world, and in purchasing power parity terms, we are the 3rd largest economy, next only to China and the US. Our government has outlined a blueprint for India's vision for the decade that aims to build physical and social infrastructure, foster outreach of digitalization to every sector of economy, emphasize on MSMEs, startups, as well as give a thrust to the indigenous defense, manufacturing, automobiles, electronics, etc. Our attention has also been drawn to the creation of a pollution-free and clean India, as well as effective water management, two of the most imperative issues that in management well can help push up our efforts towards a more meaningful and beneficial growth trajectory. India is moving ahead with great zeal in our space programs. We also aspire for self-sufficiency and export of food grains. As we tread the path of rapid advancement on all fronts, our government's initiatives to create a healthy and safe society offer a robust backdrop for the Indian industry to lay out strategies for growth in existing as well as several new areas that have opened up. Our vision to emerge as a fast-growing nation necessitates structural changes and reforms. In the recent past, we have witnessed several reforms that have changed the face of the Indian industry, making it more inclusive and growth-oriented. Major transformational reforms have facilitated the foray of several new practices and culture that afford an advantageous backdrop for industrial growth and advancement. The government has taken steps to invest heavily in infrastructure, create digital economy, and give the trust to small and medium businesses, ushering in an era of promoting ease of business. Cumbersome processes and procedures have been replaced with more industry and customer-friendly systems and processes. The government views India and corporation as job creators and as partners, reposing trust in our endeavors to catalyze and attain sustained national growth. In the budget announced recently, our finance minister has expressed the intent of the government to moot a number of path-breaking initiatives to promote domestic and foreign investments. Moreover, there has been a strong inward-looking approach that has thrown up the concept of Make in India, which is the mantra that will lead to an exponential growth in every level of the industry. We have the India Vision Growth Program 2.0, which helps entrepreneurs working in social and industrial innovations to bring breakthrough ideas to the market. The Indian Investment Growth Program is the only public-private partnership in India aimed at nurturing innovations by training entrepreneurs and change makers in world-class strategies, promoting incubation and acceleration support, and assisting in business development. In her budget speech, the finance minister has also drawn our attention to several plans and programs the government will be taking up to improve connectivity, such as reforms in aviation, national highways, improvement of railway infrastructure, metro rail project, creation of a payment ecosystem for transport, and a host of other schemes that offer a lot of promise to the business communities to scale up their businesses, ventures into new terrains, of even contemplate collaborations to fulfill their lofty ambitions for growth and expansion. Another important step the government has taken is improvement of ease of access to credit for MSMEs and curb delays in payment through creation of a payment platform. This will give a big boost to investments in MSMEs. Coupled with efforts to provide low-cost capital, the growth of businesses seems to be on an upward swing. Investment-driven growth, a robust inflow of FDIs, efforts to enlist India as a part of the global financial system and integrate India into the global value chain of production of goods and services, focus on all-round development of rural economy through access to the energy and housing, farmer-friendly programs and policies, and innumerable other social welfare objectives are all opportunities for business and industry to participate in national development and enhance their own growth. The industry is no longer viewed as a sector dominated by a motive for profit-making, but as a collaborator with the government to hasten the process of our economic growth and enhance the lifestyle of Indian citizens across all regions. The prevailing aura of optimism lends us the belief that yet another era of mega transformation has been set rolling in India, and it will be very propitious for the industry. Globally, too, there is an increased awareness and concern about rising trade tensions and increased economic uncertainty that have lowered the momentum of global trade growth. Today's theme also offers room for introspection on how we can ride the wave of bright prospects for growth and advancement by employing effective management innovations. Increasingly, innovation has become one of the critical drives of competitive advantage. Firms that innovate have high profitability, greater growth rates, and higher chances of survival. There is a move on the part of the industry to understand the dynamics of innovation, for which innovation in management becomes crucial. We can garner more understanding about how the present favorable climate offers opportunity for exponential growth and of business and trade from the August speaker of the day, Sri Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan. Given his wide experience and expertise in the industry, Sri Lakshmi Narayanan is the right person from whom we can seek deeper insights into the prospects of growth and transformation of the Indian industry. I wish everyone present here success and growth in all their endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for insight that is going to set the tone for the talk to come. Before I call upon Mr. Gautam to introduce the speaker, I want to share with you, this time we are also going to present the MMA Amalgamation Business Leadership Award. That award function will happen sometime in October. The grand jury is meeting on Monday, so we'll know who is going to be the next recipient of the award. Grand jury is one of the finest jury one can imagine. Mr. Ratan Tata is chairing the jury, and with him, Sunil Kant Munjal, Hero Honda Chairman, Mr. M. Murugappan, Chairman of Murugappa Group, Mr. Sheshai, Chairman of IndusInd Bank, and Arundhati Bhattacharya, former Chairman of State Bank of India. This is the jury what MMA has got to select the next panel of jury. That shows what sort of brand MMA is going on. We are going to have a great feast of events sometime in October. Now with that, let me also take this honor to invite Mr. Gautam, Chairman of Public Relations Subcommittee, Andhra Chamber of Commerce, one person whom I've seen so passionate and always willing to help us, and he's the one who's been coordinating with us, and it's always a pleasure to work along with Mr. Gautam. May I request Mr. Gautam to please introduce the speaker for the evening. Mr. Gautam.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to begin by saying it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all, but suffering from a very bad sore throat and cough, I am more nervous than joyous. But as the saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. But do you know the corollary to that? When the going gets tough, a person like me will simply run away. So in case I encounter any difficulty, I shall request Lakshmi Madam, Secretary General of the Andhra Chamber of Commerce, to complete what I have begun. Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan is the ex-Vice Chairman and ex-CEO of Cognizant. He was the CEO and President of Cognizant until 2006. He holds BSc and MS degree in Science and Electronics from Bangalore University, Vishwesvaraya College of Engineering, and a PG diploma from the PSC College of Technology, Coimbatore. He began his career at Tata Consultancy Services, growing through the ranks to developer, technologist, program manager, business leader. He was a regional head of TCS in India, and when he joined Cognizant as CTO. Mr. Narayanan was awarded the DataQuest IT Person of the Year Award in 2008 by the Cyber Media Group's IT publication, DataQuest. Mr. Narayanan has played a leading role in the global information technology industry for more than 25 years, managing divisions and business units in Europe, India, and the United States. Since joining Cognizant Technology in 1994, he has been instrumental in formulating the company's strategy and building and managing the organization's development centers in India, where he is based. A member of Cognizant's board of directors, Mr. Narayanan spends his time traveling extensively in the US and Europe to meet clients. He recently served as chairman on NASSCOM, National Association of Software and Service Committee. Now, all this is career. You join the corporate world, climb up the rungs and reach the top, and of course, fantastic. But isn't there something more? Now, it so happens that I know I have friends, good friends of mine, who happen to be good friends of Mr. Lakshmi, and I have learned that he's a very warm, friendly, and affable person with no banda, especially in the corporate world. When you reach the top, you develop certain stiffness, which is essential. Otherwise, can you imagine somebody, the news will spread, hey, that guy's a CEO, and he's willing to meet anybody. Every day, 100 people will knock on your door. So that's his nature. And one other point that you may not be knowing is his philanthropy. I know that he has donated to worthy causes crores of rupees. I now invite him to talk about India's trade, commerce, and industry opportunity for exponential growth. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for that nice introduction. That's really pepped me up. Nice to see a lot of young faces here. College students, it looks like it's going to be an interesting session if they actively participate towards the end of the session. The topic itself is very interesting about trade, commerce, and the most important aspects that we will try and explore is opportunities for rapid growth, exponential growth. It's more about opportunities, but let's see where these opportunities are, what is it that we have to do in those to grab those opportunities, and so on. First, let's start with trade. At the highest level, trade is about we import certain goods and then we export certain other goods. People buy from us what they cannot produce themselves to the quality that we deliver at the cost at which we deliver. So they buy from us. They buy from us because we have something superior. We import, likewise, some things that we cannot produce either because we do not have material or we do not have producing them. So that's a broad definition. And the trade is something that nets out globally. Net, there is a mutual zero-sum game globally between all the countries. But in between, there are trade imbalances. There are certain countries that export far more than importing, because of which they have a trade surplus. And there are certain countries like India, which import a lot more than they export, because of which we have a trade deficit. Now, one measure that most people use is to look at trade as a percentage of a country's GDP, overall growth. Okay. It's a reasonably good measure. Trade means export plus imports. What is the percentage of it in terms of GDP? So there are some extreme cases which we can rule out very quickly. For example, a small country like Luxembourg, their GDP is 1/4 of the trade that they do, okay, which appears like an anomaly. That means their exports plus imports, let's say, is $400. Their gross domestic product is only $100. It's not an anomaly. It's something that happens in a number of other countries too, but not to the extent that it happens in small countries. It's primarily because they're importing a lot of stuff and then exporting the same with a very little value add. For example, if you import $350 worth of goods and export or sell the same thing for $400, you have added $50 of value to that. It's that $50 that gets reflected in the GDP, not the 400 or 350. So that's where the anomaly is. The global average is something like 50 to 60%, depending upon which year you measure. About 55 can be taken as the average. And if you look at some of the important countries, particularly the countries that are of interest to us, India, it's about 43%. China, it's about 38%. Trade is about 38% of the GDP. And the United States of America, it's about 27%. Okay. Our exports appears large, 43%, because of two factors. We export a lot of refined oil, petroleum products. We import a lot of crude, and we have perhaps the largest refinery complex in the world, because of which we are able to refine them at a low cost and we export it. So trade appears high. There, the value addition is reasonable, but the greatest value addition is gems and jewelry. We import a lot of raw, uncut diamonds and add tremendous amount of value, and that goes out. So these are the import cost is high, but the export also is very, very high. Pure exports, where we uniquely add value, are very few. Services, of course. Services is something that we, for example, IT export, software export, or financial services export. Very little raw material that we need to import. It's the brain power that we use to create that export. So anything that we do in the services area contributes positively overall to the economy. That's one aspect that we will have to keep in mind in terms of greater value addition. Even if we import a lot, but if we add a lot more value, then the economy benefits and it leads to job creation. The best example is if you import cotton and export fabric or cotton yarn, very little value add. But using the same cotton that you've imported, if you can make apparel, you have added greater value, profits will be higher, created greater opportunity for people, created employment, and the GDP will improve. And if you brand those apparels and create a brand that is unique that people go by, you get into the premium segment where you can price your brand appropriately, and that's probably the best form. Lowest form of import and the highest export in terms of value. So that's broadly where we are. Should we be happy about the 43%? We are okay in the median. Should not be very happy about it because we import a lot of raw materials. If we take out the bulk of the raw materials, only take the value addition, it's only between 20 and 22%. So there is a huge opportunity for us to export. Export in areas where we have a comparative advantage. We'll explore some of those opportunities that are there. So export orientation or increasing our export is one way of creating more jobs, creating opportunities for people, improving the GDP, and thereby improving the per capita income. So if the trade is only 43%, or if it's half and half, 22, the remaining 78% of the GDP comes from our consumption. We have a country, large number of people, so we consume a lot of goods, agricultural products, food, textiles, housing, material, television sets, electronics, so many things that we consume. If we produce a lot of it ourselves, then that leads to job creation, overall GDP growth. If you have to import many of them, then that's a drain. Okay. At this point in time, we can be reasonably comfortable that we are producing very many things that we consume here. So sometimes we also get bracketed as a consumption-based economy because of the population, number one, and we produce a lot of things that we consume internally. Thanks to the indigenization program or import substitution program that we were running in the 50s and 60s, we have become a lot more self-reliant as far as the consumption and the production of consumables within the country is concerned. There are a couple of areas where we have problems like electronics, where we don't produce enough. We seem to be importing. That's a problem area, and so we'll explore as to how we can look at bridging the gap there and what are the opportunities. So the point is, as far as the growth is concerned, we have to export a lot more value-added items. If we are importing synthetic yarn, we should export completely finished goods, apparel, branded apparels, or specialized material. Just before coming here, we were talking about dresses, uniforms, material for the army and the forces, armed forces. These are special, fire resistant, whatever, they have certain specifications. If we are manufacturing it for our soldiers and our armed forces, is there an opportunity for us to export it to other countries? One example. So export opportunities is something that we have to look at constantly. And the other one is increasing the consumption locally, trying to substitute whatever we import, particularly in the electronics area, so that we can cultivate that. So once we have done that, we can look at what are the areas that we want to focus on, invest in, and where are the opportunities. Okay. I'd like to look at it in two broad segments. Where is the greatest demand as far as consumption is concerned, number one, and where is the greatest opportunity for export because of our whatever advantage, comparative advantage, factor advantage, etc. So let's look at the second one, the more interesting one, the high value added ones, something that was talked about by Dr. Indra also. And there are so many young people here. Let's make it relevant for them. For the people who are here, for the millennials who are under 30, 35, they will have to look at industries that are going to be thriving and growing, not today, but 10 years from now. Because they are going to be part of the industries, companies that are going to grow, thrive, mature in the next 10 to 15 years, and which are in the early stages of their growth now. How do you identify those industries which are in the early stages of growth, which will provide opportunities for the future? There's a fair amount of work that has been done. The best way to look at it is to see where is the research investment going, where is innovation happening. If there is an innovation that happens today, it will become an industry or a huge production opportunity 5 to 10 years down the line. We have seen that in the past. I'm familiar with the technology industry. I can talk to you about the technology industry, where internet is something that started around 2000, 2002. Now it has grown into a massive industry, encompassing practically everything that the largest companies in the world, the top 5, 10 companies in the world, are digital native companies that will be dead if internet is not there. So the revolution there started about almost 15, 20 years back, and the industry has reached the growth and continues to grow now. Which are the other industries like that? Okay. We can look in the past and arrive at those type of conclusions. But if we want to look ahead, we will have to see which are the new industries where research dollars are going globally. One more example that I want to give, which is reached the stage of exploding like the internet, which is what we call in generic terms as the location-based services, the GPS-related things. If people know where an individual is, or a facility is, or a service is, connecting them has become big business. This location-based business or location-based services used to be very small. People used to triangulate using cell phones to find out within a 1 square kilometer where a particular facility is there. Now, in a geography or 1 to 2 square meters, we can identify objects. That's a technology that came about through satellite launches of the GPS system or the navigation systems in the mid-2000s. That's maturing and growing. Again, the research dollars were spent by telecom companies in the 2000s. So there are a number of examples that we can look at, but if I were to look at where the research dollars are going and what the future industries are going to be, there are published information that's available. Broadly, there are 4 sectors, 4 broad sectors that attracts the highest amount of R&D spent, both by governments as well as by private industry. And those are the 4 industry sectors that are growing the fastest globally. Okay. What are the numbers? R&D spend in these 4 sectors, these are global numbers published by World Economic Forum. The R&D spend on these 4 sectors has gone up from 8 to about 12 or 13% in the last 6-7 years. And their contribution, these 4 industries' contribution to the global industry is expected to go from 12% to 20%. So 20% of the global GDP will be controlled by these 4 sectors. Which are those 4 sectors? First and foremost is very obvious: technology, information technology, communication technology, electronic manufacturing, etc. We'll try and spend a little more time on where the opportunities here are. The second one is healthcare, medical devices, genomics, bionics, neurobics. There are so many branches of science that are developing there. It's not just about curing diseases, it is fundamentally understanding how the brain works, how we can re-engineer a human body so that there is a quality of life is much, much better, much higher, and the longevity is also improved. So that's the healthcare area that includes pharmaceutical industry, biotechnology, medical devices, etc. Second area where a lot of research dollars are going and so growing rapidly. Third area is space, defense, aviation. That's a sector. Space research, not just about satellite launches, not just about missiles, but also about activities in the extraterrestrial world. People trying to explore other planets, other stars, etc., etc. A lot of research spent, expected to give plenty of opportunities in that area. And finally, renewable energy. Renewable energy would include solar energy, wind energy, water energy, and includes nuclear energy as well. 4 areas where significant amount of investment, 4 areas of great opportunity. And the best thing about all these 4 areas is that India has a great advantage in all the 4 areas. Today, as we stand here, because of our capability, because of our past investment in research, we have such fantastic capability that over the next 5 to 10 years, as long as effort is focused on developing these, we are assured of great growth. And maybe in each one of these sectors, we will look at examples of where the opportunities are and what is it that we can do, and probably take them in the reverse order. Renewable energy. Okay, I don't have to talk about that. Solar energy is something that we've been constantly engaged. India gets probably one of the highest amounts of sunshine, which can be directly used for converting solar energy. And some of the statistics you might have read, the amount of solar or the solar energy that hits the surface of the earth in 1 month is sufficient to power the entire earth for a period of 1 year. That's the power, that's the amount of energy that's available, which is something that we need to harness. So the ways of harnessing are several. One such example is, the biggest challenge there is not about generating or converting that solar energy or wind energy. It's about storing that energy. Storage devices, etc., while they have come a long way in terms of batteries, the batteries and cells, there is still a lot of research that can be done, where again, we stand to gain because the materials are changing. It's almost a level playing field. Okay. The lead acid batteries are practically gone. Lithium-ion batteries are there. They are newer material that are being experimented with, which can be used not just in small devices like cell phones, etc., but in automobiles, power generating stations, etc. So there are a number of technologies that have been developed in India that have been licensed to companies in India. Examples are, we have examples here in this city, a company called Grintech in IIT Madras Research Park that has developed a different battery technology that is being licensed to Exide, Amar Raja batteries, and so on. So that's an area that is going to develop rapidly. And what is it that we can do? Individuals, entrepreneurs, we will have to invest, understand that space, and then start creating facilities and production facilities to tap that opportunity. You're not going to get any help from the government. We have depended on the government for several years. We need them, but for innovation in these new areas, we have to get started. So electric vehicles, battery manufacturing, etc. is something that there is a great deal of opportunity, whether it's charging stations or swappable batteries. We probably need both. That's one area. I'll give one more example of nuclear power. Nuclear power, we are one of the world leaders. We are probably among the top 5 or 6 countries in the world that knows how to harness this nuclear energy efficiently, both for power generation as well as for strategic purposes. And the reason why countries sign the 123 agreement or the nuclear suppliers group are interested to talk to us is because, one, we have the technological capability to manage it effectively, and two, we have acted in a very, very responsible manner. And we have had our program, well thought out program, where Homi Baba said we have a 3-stage power production program, starting with the heavy water reactors using uranium, then fast breeder reactors, where we breed plutonium and use it as fissile material, and the final stage is thorium-based reactors. 3rd stage, I think we are more or less there. The first one, of course, is we are very successful pressurized heavy water reactors. We are probably the number 1 in the world. We have very many of them. We can provide that technology to other countries. Fast breeder reactors, we have had some challenges, but we can say that that's something that we have cracked or will very soon crack. Kalpakkam is one example where we have a fast breeder reactor. But thorium technology is something that has come of age. Thorium, why? Because it's not a naturally fissile material. It is something that's available in plenty. And with the limited amount of fissile uranium that's available, we can use it. And now there are companies that have developed the technologies to use these thorium fissile rods, thorium uranium combined fissile rods in the old technology of the heavy water reactors that we have mastered and provide complete solutions. We may not use it ourselves, we may not have sufficient amount of uranium, but this is clearly a technology that we can import to some of the countries that Dr. Indra mentioned in the conference that we are going to have, countries in Africa, countries in the ASEAN region. The biggest advantage is it's proliferation resistant. You cannot produce nuclear bombs using thorium. And it's far safer than uranium-based reactors. So on that energy sector, we have the capability, we have the technology, and as soon as that sector opens up, that's a long gestation period. These are things that while the battery technology, solar technology is something that you and I can do on a day-to-day basis, set up a company. And nuclear power is something where we have the technology in the hands of private sector and the government. We essentially require the government sector because it is such a sensitive thing globally. So that's one opportunity area. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was space, the reverse order, space, satellite launches. Okay. If you look at the number of satellites that have been launched so far and the numbers that are required, we require something like 1,000 times the number of satellites that are already floating in space in the next 5 to 6 years in order to provide coverage. The satellite technology has also become very specialized. It's not an all-purpose satellite that we have, big ones. There are specialized satellites, satellites for communication, satellites or a satellite network for navigation, satellites for remote sensing, satellites for satellite network for weather, satellite network for agriculture, so on and so on. There are some 10 or 12 different areas. Each requires a constellation of satellites to be launched, where now both the governments, the US, UK, French, Chinese governments, in addition to the government, those satellite launches are supplemented by private sector operators like SpaceX. And India, we have launched a number of satellites for the other countries. And the government has announced that they are going to set up a separate corporation to monetize the capability that we have in the area of space. We used to have a company called Antrix, which is part of ISRO. During the 2G period, they came to disrepute, and there is a new attempt that is being made in order to resurrect that. And that's a grand opportunity for all of us. ISRO is one of the leading organizations. We have fantastic capability. We have research capability. Practically all the leading academic institutions are working in that area. So that's something that we shouldn't lose sight of. It's interesting not only just for the space launches and the missiles program and the avionics and the design of drones, etc., but it is the applications are phenomenal. One more example in that area, drones, we've all talked about. Drones are going to do several things that human beings are doing now and remotely. And there are standards that have been evolved. Drone pilots are being certified in order for them to fly it, because it's not easy to fly a drone over a construction site and evaluate what is the state of construction, or over an agricultural field that requires proper training, safety training, etc. So licensed pilots will have to operate. And there is going to be demand there are companies that have come up only training and certifying drone pilots. At this point in time, only the veterans, the Air Force people are getting trained, but that's a great opportunity for people. So in that space, defense, aviation, huge set of opportunities. I'll quickly touch upon the healthcare and the medical devices area. Plenty of work happening in genetics, neurobionics. There are several companies. I think Mr. Viswanathan is talking about the Medicity. There is Professor Professor Cherian, who set it up at an expensive, invested a lot, just betting on the future technologies. He is, at the age of 80, I was listening to him talk about medgenome and genomics. I mean, he's so passionate about the type of devices that can be manufactured here in India. So he's talking about neuromodulation, I don't understand many of it, neurosimulation. Two things, devices that you implant. So that will control, manage diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, etc., control depression, control so many other things. So neuromodulation is one area, and I believe globally there are already 1 million people who are walking around with these devices, these implants, either in the brain or in the spine, or the pacemakers, or cochlear implants, or retinal implants, and that's a booming industry. And there is research that's going on in Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, where they want to, one of the challenges of all these devices that you plant is they run on battery. Maybe after 3 years, 4 years, you'll have to have a procedure, surgical intervention, replace the battery, etc. Now, the idea that they've come up with, taken patents, is why not create power within the body using glucose, like the way the body is naturally generating power. The pulses that the heart receives for the heartbeat is an electric pulse. How does it manufacture? Can I harness that in order to charge or use it for the devices that are implanting? And I believe it is possible. They're conducting trials. And that's another area of huge opportunity where some of the young minds are working here. Okay. It's great opportunity. In all these areas, the beauty of this is the research is only the top of the pyramid, 1 or 2% of the people who will create these new ideas, create these new innovations. And then the rest of it is applied. Like the internet, when it came in 2000, nobody thought of all the applications, including the Swiggies and Zomatos, and look at what has happened now. So that's the thing that's going to happen over the next 5-10 years. And that's where the youth of this country have the greatest learning, greatest opportunity. And the last thing that I want to mention is about electronic manufacturing, electronics. We import practically everything. All the television sets are imported, phones are imported. We have made a good beginning. I think Foxconn has set up something in Sri City which has reached scale, manufacturing a lot of phones, handsets, and smartphones. And there is a big factory that's coming up in Sri Perumbudur, in the old Nokia facility, where iPhones are going to be manufactured for domestic use as well as exports. So that's an area where we import a lot. All of you would have heard those numbers. Today we import $40 billion worth of electronic items and components. In another 10 years, it is going to become $400 billion. Okay, the numbers haven't changed in the last 1 year. This is the number that I've been hearing. But that's a huge number. If they can substitute and develop the local industry, that's again a tremendous opportunity. And all this will be led by innovation that's happening at convergence of all these industries. What used to be treated as multiple industries, we used to have a separate telecom industry, we used to have a separate information technology industry, we used to have a media industry, We used to have a separate entertainment industry. Now it's all together. You know, in all your devices, you want news, you want to see movies, you want to create content. Tremendous demand. The biggest opportunity, you know, visual communication students. I was in Madurai in one of the colleges there for that convocation. They have visual communication. The visual communication students were the first one to get placed entirely out of that batch, because there's so much of content that is getting created, so much of work that is required to be done in the social media. So as industries and small industries integrate, at the convergence of those, there is plenty of innovation where there are tremendous opportunities for all the people. Now, many of these do not require a large amount of investment. The example that I talked about, the neurobionics company, which is trying to develop a prototype of a device that will automatically get self-powered, low-power electronics device, they're looking at an investment of $3 to $4 million, about 20-25 crores, to come up with the prototype and samples and the trials. After that, it will be sold to a big company, medical devices company, like, let's say, Medtronics or someone else, to commercialize it. So the point that I'm trying to make is each one of us, whether we are part of a small industry or part of a big group, this is a great time for us to invest in some of these new areas and new technologies, so that in 7 to 8 years, we will have a fantastic and a flourishing economy. And the reason why everybody is talking about, the ministers and the government is talking about moving from 3 to a 5 trillion to a 10 trillion, is because these opportunities are visible to all the people. It's all visible, particularly to the government. They all know this is something that is available, while they have focused and created the maximum number of jobs in the infrastructure area. You know, in the last 4 or 5 years, the largest number of jobs have been created in the construction industry, thanks to the investment that the government made in this golden quadrilateral and all the other infrastructure. The next set of investment will happen there. Likewise, the private sector and people like us invest both in research, education institutions of higher research, as well as startups and industry that are of the future, we'll have phenomenal opportunities, and we don't have to depend on the government. We only have to depend on each of the industries, and converge them together. Thank you very much.
We'll take, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take some Q&A. Can you pass the mic, please? Please be brief and only questions, no statement and no lectures, please.
Thank you, madam, and thank you, sir, for having made an overall picture of our economy and our growth trajectory. I have a viewpoint that we have around 424.5 billions of foreign exchange reserves as on yesterday, whereas China has got trillions of foreign exchange. They have a favorable foreign exchange reserves, be a balance of payment against America as well as India. And our markets are being dumped with Chinese products. When we say we have a lot of unemployment problem, are we not good enough in WTO arguments or meetings to enforce that our products are being neglected and Chinese products are being dumped in India? Another thing is in defense sector, you must have seen Abhinandan was running an old aircraft, and he was fortunately, he came alive back. Are we good at our defense? We are spending huge amount of money on defense, but still obsolete and outdated. What could be your take on that?
First thing that you talked about is related to trade. You're saying Chinese goods are coming here. We are not blocking them. They are consumed here. These are my personal views. I believe in free market. If we are not able to competitively produce products that you and I use, and if someone is able to produce it at a cheaper price or at a price that we can afford, I want to enjoy that product. Just because we are not able to produce it, or it's too expensive here, or the right quality is not there, as a citizen, I wouldn't like to be denied that opportunity. So what is it that we have to do? We just have to get competitive. In order to get competitive, skills, training, all that is required. And two, we also have to think about, I mentioned about comparative advantage. Where do we want to be competitive? Do we want to be competitive in manufacturing toys that you and I use and the children buy, which may be of Chinese make? Or do we want to be competitive in the healthcare areas that I talked about, in space technology, in defense, in nuclear power? So that's a choice that we can make. And I believe being competitive in industries of the future and the growth industries and investment in those areas will be far more productive than trying to import, substitute leather shoes. If somebody is manufacturing, it's available at a lower price and people want to use it. I don't think I'll worry about it too much. Although, if somebody is able to produce it at a competitive price, why not? That would be my take on the trade. And as far as the balances are concerned, having extra reserves is not very helpful. Our balance of payment, the way it works is we have what is called the current account deficit, which keeps growing year after year. Because it is growing year after year at about 4 to 5%, our currency depreciates at the rate of about 4 to 5% year after year. There may be some years where it will depreciate by 7 or 8% because there will be a spike in oil price during that year, etc. But by and large, we know how the currencies operate, their relationship with the current account deficit, and the reserves that we have of $400+ billion will cover any eventuality. So it'll be good to have higher reserves, but not having that is not hurting us in any form. We are quite comfortable. So having a higher reserve in itself doesn't make us more powerful compared to China. Yeah.
Well, Namaskaram. I am Ramesh. Well, during the course of your sermon, sir, you had spoken about the opportunities for exponential growth available in certain futuristic industries. When that be the case, is there not any scope for the India's trade, commerce and industry from the existing sectors which has been with us since times immemorial, which is being classified as brownfield industries and stuff like that? So is there not any scope for any of the existing segments and sectors of the industry which have been there since millennia? What is your take on that?
Yeah, that's a good point, good question. Aren't there opportunities in other sectors? Primarily, any economy, you just look at it, there is the primary sector. Primary sector is agriculture and mining. Mining natural resources, coal mining, oil. Agriculture is producing cotton, vegetables, rice, pulses, etc. for that. That's a kind of a primary sector. Then second one is manufacturing, producing, converting some of these primary products into secondary products. And you can add infrastructure or power either to the primary sector or to the secondary or the manufacturing sector. That's a second. And the third one is the high growth of the tertiary services oriented sector. So I talked about the tertiary sector where the opportunities exist for exponential growth for future. But it doesn't mean that there are no opportunities for growth in the first two sectors. If you look at agriculture and mining, the level of mechanization that can happen there is tremendous. Okay. Agriculture, the numbers may not be right, but the order of magnitude is something globally, is something that will drive home the idea. 20 years, 30 years back, 1 billion people used to work in farms, in agriculture, to feed the entire world globally. Now, 1/10 of the people work in agriculture globally and produce twice as much as they were producing then. Okay. So, agriculture, basic form, primary sector, it has become more efficient, more productive, thanks to usage of machines, automation, there are combines, harvesters, etc. So there is a great opportunity in India to replicate that. If there are 50% of the people working in agriculture and producing so much, whatever, 280 million tons of pulses and food or this thing, Why not reduce it by half through mechanization, capital infusion, improve so that we can export either food products or processed food products to the globe and be an export earner, and relieve the people who are coming out of that agriculture, skill them and get them into, let's say, mining. Mining is another area where that's a core sector, power production, or manufacturing. Manufacturing, how do we get to scale? You know, auto industry is something that we have scaled. We are in a position to export. We probably meet all the demand that this country has, starting from nothing. You know, people would realize, many of the youngsters may not know, 20, 25 years back, the choice of automobiles was so limited. By investing now, we can have the entire IC, internal combustion engine cars, ICE engines, ICE cars replaced by electric vehicles in a matter of 5 to 8 years. We don't need protection. We don't need anything. We don't need any government support. All it takes is a competitive industry. If someone comes and manufactures and says this EV is available at this price from tomorrow, all the other ICE manufacturers will buck up and they'll start their own industry, their own plant for that. So it's the market force that is going to drive them, and there is plenty of opportunity there on the subsidiary industries. So by no means it's the tertiary sector that's the only growing exponential opportunity. Other two sectors are also there by using mechanization, automation, technology, and innovation.
Sir, thank you very much. Sir, here. Sir, thank you very much for your interesting exposition. I am Narsimalu, one of the yes. Sir, thank you very much for interesting presentation, sir. I am Narsimalu, one of the members of the Madras Management Association. My question is, we are progressing much on these 4 years on the solar energy, renewable energy, and previous 12 years we are doing much in the wind energy sector. But these 4 years, what we did, we are importing a lot of photovoltaics. Rather than reinventing the wheel, we have to import. But we are multinationals. Second, energy conservation, we are importing much of the LED lamps. That is also we are enriching the foreign nationals. So we and our LED. So reinvent the wheel. All the medical equipments, 99% we are importing. And that is the problem. Now we are, our organ transplantation program also much growth for the past 3 years. And for that one particular chemical we are importing still, we are not developing it here. See, we are everywhere, we are enriching others, we are not doing our own internal manufacturing as make in India, so whereby. And similarly, all the sectors, what you are told also, international also watching, international manufacturers also watching it. And they are also edging through the investment and research and development. There are several publications are coming out. So in this environment, what should we do in these specific sectors of solar and other areas? And we are doing the export on the windmills also, but very smaller area.
I get this thing. See, I mean, one, clearly, you and I will have to start companies and start investing and creating the capacity, manufacturing capacity here. Having said that, what is our comparative advantage? One of the things that we have established is our comparative advantage is in the knowledge power that we have. In services, if you look at the, another way of looking at the industry landscape is there are digital companies, purely digital companies, a Google, a Microsoft. They deal with data, they don't manufacture anything. They just massage, use data and do it. And these are some of the largest ones, including people like Amazon, etc. They have gradually, what used to be physical industries like books, music, etc. has become digital. That's, the top companies are there in the digital world. And these digital companies have a significant presence in India. and there are significant number of Indians who are working with these, what we might call digital native companies all over the world. That's a comparative advantage that we have. We have brilliant people who can learn and contribute. That's an area that we can focus on. Just as we are talking about, we are not manufacturing LED lamps. Somebody in some other country in Vietnam or China may be talking about, look at India. They develop products and software for Google and Facebook and Microsoft. When are we going to get there? So that's the comparative advantage that they have is in manufacturing. We have significant comparative advantage in services. That's something that we can multiply. But I'm not saying that that's the only area to focus on. Focus on the strength that we have and capture the world. You know, one example that I'll talk about is, again, may sound futuristic. Drones and drone pilots I talked about. Australian mines are managed by these drones. The rule globally is the drone pilot who is controlling it, who is a certified pilot, he should be within the line of sight of that road, is the rule. Okay. And there are people who are representing, including people from India who are representing, saying that take away that rule of line of sight. What is the advantage? Sitting here in Chennai, we will be able to manage drones over Australian mines. That's a great opportunity for job creation and things like that. So it's such of those are the things that we should imagine in the services area and get there. And not to make light of manufacturing, we need to invest in medical devices. We need to invest in bulb manufacturing. Sure.
My name is Rajagopal. I am from the Indian Bank and recently I am in the Andhra Chamber as an advisor. Now, my question is, sir, we are, so far as the Indian economy is concerned, Indian sports, the Achilles heel is our adverse balance of trade. We are not perpetually, we are adverse. The only what we can now do is, medical tourism is one area where we have got an advantage vis-a-vis the developed countries. Now, and the infrastructure, of course, is already well developed here, so far as India is concerned. And enormous number of people are coming. And I have a feeling that we should give more thrust to medical tourism. And also, especially general tourism also. Medical tourism is a value addition is something fantastic there. You get it there. I don't know what is your
yeah, it's a good point. Good point. Medical, encouraging people to come here. Medical professionals, you know, we are still in the early stages. You know, compare it to, again, the IT industry. IT industry, remember early days when the industry started, we used to be called body shopping. People would be sent. Expertise will go. Body shopping. That's precisely what's happening in the medical area to a large extent. Doctors, medical professionals are going out and serving and working in hospitals outside. Nurses, registered nurses, there's a large number of registered nurses who pass the examination, who go out and work in Western countries. There is a great deal of demand because they are well equipped as far as the knowledge of nursing is concerned, plus their attitude and the service orientation that makes them, you know, an easy choice for them to do it. Now, can that be like this IT industry transformed itself into partly there and partly here? Is it possible to do in the healthcare industry? Eminently possible. I'm sure it will happen.
One last question. Anybody? Nobody? Yes? Anybody? Yeah. Can you give the gentleman? Sir, yes, sir. Please. Yeah, two last questions. Past President.
It was a wonderful talk on a wide canvas of opportunities. Very motivating, I'm sure, for everybody. My only question to you is, what is your take on what should we prepare ourselves in terms of ecosystem and infrastructure? You have any thoughts on that? How should we go about it?
Ecosystem and infrastructure, there are two types of infrastructure that we should look at. One is the physical infrastructure, which is about airports, ports, roads, joining the rivers. Fantastic. There is a lot of opportunity there. I mentioned that the largest job creator in the last 5 years has been the construction industry, followed by the retail industry. So if we continue to invest, or if the government continues to invest in the physical infrastructure, then there is a great deal of opportunity for us to grow. But more importantly, the other soft infrastructure, institutional infrastructure that we can create is in terms of data networks, bandwidth, communication lines, optic fibers. That's even more valuable now, because everything is now about data. There's the example that someone gives us with artificial intelligence, machine learning. If you hear a group of birds chirping in the morning routinely, day after day after day, record it. There may be a pattern in it that might predict the weather, rain, or something else. So that is the type of imagination that people are working with. When people say data is the new oil, that's what they mean by it. Just collect that data. Collect, store, process, do it. So the infrastructure that is required for that is the telecommunication infrastructure. Big opportunity. You already have seen a company like Jio just announces that it's coming in a matter of 3-4 years. Look at the number of consumers that they have signed up and the size that they've taken up. If that's not exponential growth, what is exponential growth? So it's those areas of analytics, of data, of institutional infrastructure, research infrastructure, education institutions. We used to talk about 5 IITs only for so many years, 3 IIMs only for so many years. Look at the number of IITs, triple ITs, IIMs that we have, and still not sufficient. That's the institutional infrastructure that we have to invest in. Financial services, insurance. There are so many things. Those are the opportunities where that infrastructure is something that can be created or should be created both by the government and the private sector. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Naveen Rathore from Andhra Chamber of Commerce as a committee member. My question is very simple. You have not talked about the artificial intelligence. There is a big growth, that is what I've heard in China. The people are more going into the artificial intelligence. So can you highlight on the artificial intelligence? And also on the traditional trade, which India is doing from so many years. So how to combat the future? Because I think the middleman group is suffering a lot in last few years because of the IT or whatever you say, because of Amazon, Big Basket and all these people. The middle
Yeah, the first question of artificial intelligence, that's going to be everywhere. I'll just simply say what was GPS and navigation system in the mid-2000s is where artificial intelligence is today. So in future, it has tremendous growth. Applications, etc., you can go on talking about it, but you will see them day in and day out. Okay, great area, great opportunity in that particular segment. Why is it so important? Why is it becoming so popular? Because the computing power, there's so much that's available at such a low price. There's communication bandwidth, there's so much of it that's available at such a low price. Some of the challenges are in, these devices getting heated. Battery we're not able to store. If you draw too much, it gets heated. So there is an entirely new science of low power electronics that is coming up. That's going to solve that problem for the future. Etc., etc. So much so that, 10 years, 15 years, maybe 20 years down the line, you will carry a small device that will be your backup brain that will do half the functions that you're doing. So that's the type of potential that is there. Okay, so that's about AI. And AI, machine learning, etc., you can keep talking endlessly about it. But I'm sure all of you are bombarded with that every day in the paper or any seminar, any conference that you go to, they'll always say AI, ML. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. I think now I request Mr. Padmanabhan to deliver concluding remarks. Thereafter, please come, step forward. Padmanabhan is heading the skill vertical of Andhra Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Good evening. We had very nice takeaways, and it has been quite enthusing to hear opportunities in the 4 sectors. Regarding the Chinese imports, I want to add something more because I am from that industry or the vertical. Any import, there is a protocol particularly if it's from China. I mean, it's not China specific. Although it's not China specific, first thing is any product has to be having mandatory Bureau of Indian Standards. If it's not conforming to that, such imports cannot enter into India. And most of the products from China are required to have BIS. Many Chinese will not have. This is number one. And whenever the government sees a pattern in dumping of the Chinese goods, there is always the Directorate of Anti-Dumping. So we need not be unduly worried about Chinese dumping because there is a method in the way the government functions. That's one thing which I want to share with the people here. Not every import is bad. Please have it in mind. Unless imports are there, we cannot export. We need exports. And thank you very much, sir, for highlighting the medical tourism. Knowledge is power. What do you think it will be India's strength? The numbers and the English language. These two are going to propel us into the world stage. The dividends arising out of these two, the people with the English skills, we are going to be in these sectors. We are going to drive these sectors, particularly this medical tourism. I made a small study some few years ago for my book. Yeah, bypass surgery in Singapore would cost about 12 lakhs, not now, about 8-9 years ago. Same thing would cost here in our Apollo 3 lakhs those days. In Bharatiraja, 1 lakh. This is the real strength. This is what we can add. So in services and processed foods, we can see an exponential growth in future. With these closing remarks, I also would like to invite your attention, ladies and gentlemen, that we at Andhra Chamber of Commerce are having a business meet on Afro-Asian trade. Whoever is interested in exporting and importing to these countries from particularly, we are seeing a pattern in growth of trade between African countries and India and ASEAN countries. ASEAN means Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So we have invited some important countries with which India has very traditional, strong economic links, like Vietnam, Philippines, Myanmar, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda. My secretariat is here. This is the last day for registration with a discount. So please contact our secretary is here, our team is here. You can leave your name. Perhaps you can pay it later tomorrow also. So with these words, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaktaraman, for a very brief thing. And what you said is a very right point. How much you pay doesn't matter. You must get back home alive, actually. That's very important, actually. And now may I request Mr. Ramkumar, immediate past president, to please step forward, do the honor of presenting memento to our distinguished guest speaker as well as the chairperson. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Another nice evening. Look forward to see you again tomorrow. If any of your members want to come, just put your name. We'll be keeping in touch with you. Get back home safely and good night. Bye-bye.